Looking at my property menu now, this is about a healthy mid-game amount of Saturn complex hubs and stations. We have everything you would need to build ships, and we have a few shields, lasers, and missiles being manufactured for template outfitting. We have our headquarters, and we have an equipment dock, and we also have a mobile mining base. That is actually the one from the Rebel Leader game start, and it's just been mining for a few minutes while I've been setting this up for the tutorial. So how are we going to set all of these up to automatically supply the docks in need and not have to set up couriers, because those are all manual? The answer is the Dockware Manager menu. So to start, let's go ahead and head over to our headquarters in Unseen Domain, and we will begin to set up the dock agents. Before I start the Dockware Manager, I'm going to quickly go over some fundamentals about station placement that you should know when setting up large Saturn complex hub networks like this. I have all of these shipbuilding materials over here in Unknown Sector Sigma, and as you can see, it's an asteroid-rich sector. That way it's easy just to set them all up in this sector. But they're all clustered around the center of the sector, like so. It's all a very short trip away from the center for dock agents using the quantum jump gate extension. If you put them randomly in the quadrants of the sector, your dock agents are going to have to spend a lot of travel time, and whenever your dock agents are traveling, they can't be used to do other things. So you want to reduce travel time as much as possible. Also, looking here in Unseen Domain, my two main bases of this playthrough, the headquarters and my main equipment dock, are directly in the center of this sector. The equipment dock obviously can't be at the same place as the HQ in the center of the sector. However, I like having them in the same sector. That way I can build all my ships at the HQ and send them all to the equipment dock. Another thing is my mining base. Mining bases you don't want to place in the center of the sector. You want to place them as close as possible to the asteroid. And that's because you want the mining ships to be having the shortest trip possible between the base and the asteroid so that their downtime is reduced. What you can do is you can put a jump beacon right next to this to reduce your dock agent travel time, or you can just deal with the fact that they're going to have to travel from the gate to the station on return trips, which isn't a big deal for a mining base. So to set this up, we need to get all of these materials from Unknown Sector Sigma to our headquarters. And I guess I'm getting ahead of myself again. The headquarters. In case you don't know, you can go to Cloud Base Southeast for the Rebels, and at the Rebel Shipyard, they sell a station called Headquarters. It's very expensive, about $250 million credits, sorry. And that is a very important station you need to have for shipbuilding, painting, and repairs. And you can only have one of them. Do not try to build multiple of them. I don't actually know what happens, but the game was only designed for you to have one. And the Empire sells them in Uranus. Right here, headquarters at the United Space Command Shipyard. So those are the two places you can get them, and if you didn't know, you can get Saturn Complex hubs in Saturn 3 and in Circle of Labor for the Rebels and Empire. So now that we have our HQ, you can use it to build ships. And to do so, you just click on it, go to the D menu by pressing D, and add to production queue. Now by default, you start with the IRD and the IRD-A. Those are corporate sector fighter ships, and they are pretty generic and not very good. So for this example, I'm going to be building V-19s, the Republic V-19 Torrent Starfighter, and to do so, we need to first acquire one by salvage, capture, or buying, and dock it at the HQ. So once our ship is docked at our headquarters, we can reverse engineer it. And we can do this with any ship in the game that we find. You just dock it at your HQ, and then you can reverse engineer it. So while this is flying, I'll go over shipbuilding materials. So there's a big list of things you need. To check it, what you need to do is go to the D menu on your HQ again, add something to the production queue. So I've already added an IRD-A to the production queue. I'm going to go ahead and remove that so we can put our this guy would stop talking, are V19. So the V19 has docked. We can recycle it and it will turn into all of those wares that we need for shipbuilding. This isn't really something I'd ever recommend doing, especially in Light Cube's universe. There's never really a reason to recycle ships. Spray shop is if you want to repaint the ship, and something of note, if you have animated shields on your Star Wars LU ships, this will also repaint the shields. But what we're looking at now is reverse engineering. So I'm adding it to the queue, and if I go to the info menu, you can see that it is being reverse engineered right here. We'll wait for that to go. Because it's a light fighter, it shouldn't take very long, but big ships, like especially capital ships, will take almost forever to reverse engineer. But now that we have the blueprint, we can go back to the D menu, and we can see we can add to the production queue. So let's build 10 of them. You can just queue up 10 by clicking it, or you can hit end or home to, just like any other menu. So let's set 10. We're going to build 10 V19 Torrents. Something else I forgot to mention is that once you have your HQ, the blue light bulb missions will start occasionally selling blueprints. This is how you get prototype editions of the larger ships, so keep an eye out for those missions. So to check what we need to build them, go to your headquarters and hit the info menu. So in the info menu, this is the shopping list. We need all of these wares here and credits in order to build it. So I've already taken the liberties of setting up all of the Saturn complex hubs for that. So we need to have dock agents bring those in for us. So the first thing to do is the Dockware Manager menu. So if we click on our headquarters and go to Dockware Manager, you'll see unassigned, and that's pretty much all there is. There's energy cells and a 1 megajoule shield in here because those were the wares on our V19 Torrent when we deconstructed it. They went into the station's inventory. We need to assign all of those materials. So I so happen to have a Gallifrey transport that has one of everything we need. I had him go to all of the Saturn complex hubs and pick them up. So I'm going to have it dock at the headquarters. I'm going to leave the sector myself because he's going to jump in right at the center of the sector. Now, when the station is at the center and you jump into the center, there won't ever be a collision. It'll jump off to the side of the station. As you can see that red flare down there, that's where it jumped. But it's going to have to fly around the station, and it's going to take a while to dock. When you're not in the sector, they only appear as points on the map, so jumping to a center point station like this will be almost instantaneous. So anyway, we'll wait for that to dock, and then we will deposit the goods. Should only take a second. Alright, our transport has docked. So the reason for this is we are setting up the Dockware Manager. We need to get those wares into the menu. And we could just add the entire category of wares, and I'll show you how to do that later once we get to the equipment dock, but these wares have such massive categories like food, bio, and tech that we don't want to do that. So let's trade with the headquarters. We will give it the Crystal, Durasteel, Mandalorian Iron, which I suppose I should rename to Beskar Steel at this point, Motivators, or Plasteel, Power Converters, Silicon Wafers, and Thermal Regulators. So we can access the Dockware Manager menu by going to our headquarters and hitting Dockware Manager, or any landed ship like our Gallifrey and hitting Dockware Manager. So this is the headquarters Dockware Manager capacities page. So we need to assign all these wares. So the way it works is anything in the unassigned category will be automatically sold by dock agents. And we don't want it selling these, at least we don't want it selling all of these. So we're going to assign them. So press enter on the ones you want to assign. We're going to assign everything except for the shield because that is not something we need to build ships. We also need energy cells. Looks like the energy cells got put on our transport when he docked. It must have used them to refuel. So I'm going to trade one energy cell with the shipyard, the headquarters. And here we have all of our freight. So now we need to set the capacities. This is how many the station is going to stock up before the dock agents start selling the excess. So amount right here is how many is currently in the station's inventory. It's all one because we only deposited one of each from the transport on our station. Capacity is how many it will stock up before it starts selling the excess, and percentage is how much, the percent full it is of that capacity. So 1 is 0% of 10,000, well, rounds down. So I'm going to set this to pretty much high numbers. So energy cells, you'll probably want to go 3 million. It depends how much your Saturn complex hub is producing for you. You could also have a courier going to all of your Saturn complex hubs, picking up the excess energy cells and bringing them here, or from other sources as well, such as buying, but 3 million is a pretty decent amount. I say decent amount because when you make ships, energy cells, it costs quite a bit of energy cells, and they don't really sell for much anyway, so you'll consume a lot. They're not worth much, so you just want to sit on a huge pile of them. Crystals, 10,000 is good. Motivators, 10,000. 10,000 is pretty much good for all of these. Ore is a high volume wear, so I'm going to set it even higher. And the way I can set it by 1 million at a time rather than holding or left arrow key is by typing on the numpad here. So if I type 10,000, as you can see on the bottom, this step counter has gone up, and that's how much it goes up and down every time I hit left and right. So we're going to go to 50,000 on ore and silicon, simply because those are high volume goods. And I honestly don't even remember what these have been renamed to. I'm more familiar with the vanillaware names, but for microchips, computer components, and quantum tubes, you don't need to be as high as 10,000, but it's a decent amount to start off with. So the next step is sources. So at the top of the Dockware Manager menu, the Sources tab, this is where are we going to get those goods. Of course, you could have a courier bring them here. You could bring them here manually, or tell one of your ships to dock here and drop them off like I've done, and the Dockware Manager won't be affected by that. But the sources is where the freighters and dock agents set to buy will get the goods. So we have Saturn complex hubs for all of these goods, and these are the names. I've named them all with the where, the size, 50 for all of them, and Saturn complex hub. And let's go back to our headquarters Dockware Manager menu. We are going to specify that that is where we want to get the wares from. So by going left and right, it comes up with it cycles through all of your stations that have that ware, that are producing that ware or have that ware. And you also have the option to buy. If you select buy, then your station will use buying dock agents. So dock agents running the buy command to go out and purchase them for the best price from the NPC economy, and they will buy as many as they need to get the stock up to 10,000 or whatever you've set it to. I'm not going to be doing that here because we are producing all of them on our own, and you also need to have the station money account have enough money to afford the energy cells or whatever you're buying. Another thing you can do is, if there's a rare ware out there, like say TIE droids, fighter drones Mark II, where the heck do you buy those? If it's not obvious and you don't want to shop, or you don't want to have to find the best price, you can simply add them in the Dockware Manager menu, set them to buy, and you don't have to worry about it. Your dock agents will just go out and buy them, and you can just use this to get whatever ware you want in the game without having to shop manually. It's just another trick. But anyway, back to sources. So we're setting everything to our Saturn complex hubs that produce them. So we're going to get all of these from Saturn complex hubs. And freighters, not dock agents. So I say freighter, that's the name of a command that intermediates freight between your stations. And I hate that it's called freighter because that's also the class of the ship that does it. But freighter is a command that intermediates freight. And thresholds. So this is another important one. Not as important, but it is something you need to do. And for thresholds, this is what it's referring to. So let's look at this station right here. 200 megajoule shield Saturn complex hub. If we hit info on it, it currently has 148 of the shields on board out of 400 total. So the station can hold 400 200 megajoule shields, and it has 148 on board right now. And that means this last number right here, it is 37% full of those shields. So shields, guns, and missiles are very low volume goods. I mean, low quantity goods. They're going to produce extremely slowly, and they're going to take, like this concussion impulse generator, it takes 2 in-game hours just to produce 1 cycle of them. So every 2 hours, this Saturn Complex Hub is going to produce a small batch. So that batch is going to be, let's see, when it finishes in 1 minute, it's not going to fill up the entire Saturn Complex Hub's capacity. So what you want to do for lasers and shields and missiles is set your threshold, your import threshold, to 0%, because they produce so infrequently. You basically want to grab them whenever they get produced. But for low volume goods such as energy cells, you don't want to set your dock agents to go out and pick them up the second they're produced by setting it to 0. Because say a station produces 5,000 energy cells at a time and your ship can hold 10,000, you don't want your ship going out to grab 5,000 when it can wait till the station has more in stock, so that your ship can be fully utilizing its cargo bay and not have to worry about other ships running the same job also cannibalizing it. So therefore, what we're going to do for thresholds for shipbuilding materials is we are going to set them to not 0, but to like 25% or something. And I can do this smarter by typing 25 on the numpad and setting them all to 25%. That way, it will only pick them up once the Saturn Complex Hubs are 25% full of said ware. Now, microchips is an exception because those are a very low volume good and they're quite valuable. You don't need a lot of them to build ships compared to the other wares, but they're a lot more expensive and a lot more low volume. I don't actually remember what ware I renamed microchips to. I think it's motivators. So I'm going to set that to 0. And we can check, actually, if we go to motivators, 24 minutes per cycle. What else might it be? Oh, that's a fast one. 40 minutes per cycle. So thermal regulators and motivators are the ones that take forever to build. Actually, it's thermal regulators, not motivators. And I did that by checking how long it takes to build in the Saturn Complex Hub. And if you have a ton of dock agents and freighters, this isn't really that important, but I'm assuming anyone watching this is planning to move on to Mayhem after they get their bearings in LitCube's universe, and this is a lot more important in Mayhem. So anyway, thermal regulators, we're going to set this lower, maybe 10%, so maybe 2 or 3 batches, and then we'll send the ship to go get them. And overstock, we're going to set it to yes for everything. So if overstock is set to no, the ships won't pick them up. If we go back to our capacities page, if we're at 10,000 energy cells, and if overstock is set to no, 3 million energy cells, and our overstock is set to no, the ships will not pick them up, and they will just let the Saturn Complex Hub overflow and stop producing because it's full. But my model here is I would like to overstock and sell the excess to sell us back down to 3 million. That way we can be making money, and that way our headquarters has money from the excess materials that it's not using, because it also needs credits to make the ships. So leave everything at yes here. Now, if you have something set to buy, you definitely want to set overstock to no, most definitely, because you don't want yourself just buying an endless amount of whatever thing you have set to buy. You want to control how much money you're spending. So anyway, now that that is done, we need to set up some freighters. So I say freighters, again, I'm talking about the command right here, freighter. So I have a bunch of CR-25 ships. I'm going to bring them all to the station to be our freighters and dock agents. Something of note for these is the software you need is down here. You need quantum jump gate and hyperdrive for sure. You definitely need navigation. You need trading system extension. Trade command 1 and 2 are already built in, as you see here, and that is true for all TS ships in Star Wars LU. And you also should upgrade the engines and all that. And the last thing is, you don't need station agent software for a freighter, but you do need station agent software for a dock agent. And you need both dock agents and freighters for this. So I just have it on every ship because I'm cheating with infinite money for this demonstration, but just know that you don't need the expensive station agent software for freighters. So let's broadcast to all of these ships and tell them to go to our headquarters. And I already have them with energy cells from the shipyards they started at when I bought them, and I have set all of their jump settings to yes, 0, and 50. And another thing is I will also set the headquarters by going to our headquarters, going to the D menu at the bottom. Maximum jumps I'm going to set to 25, or basically set it to half of what your dock agents are set to refuel to. So they're set to refuel to 50 jumps. So this means they can jump 25 sectors away to sell goods or pick up goods or whatever, and they'll have 25 jumps worth of fuel to get back. So they have a range of 25 sectors on the map. You can set it higher, but that just means losing more cargo capacity for fuel. And you want as much cargo capacity as for hauling as possible. Now, because I have the shipyard in the center, they're already here. So let's tell all landed ships to home base at the headquarters. So now they're all home based at the headquarters. In order to do freighter or dock agent, they have to have a home base. So if we go into the command console for one of our freighters, it has home base at our headquarters. So we're going to go to Trade, Freighter. Let's go to another one down here, Trade, Freighter. We're going to do 4 freighters. So if we look at our ships now, we have 4 yellow ships that are freighters, and they're all freighting crystals. Now, they all shouldn't be doing the same job. The reason is because all of our Saturn complex hubs, as you can see here, are completely full because they've been sitting idle because the freighters haven't been running. In a real game, when you're setting all this up in real time, you'll have freighters by the time you set up the very first Saturn complex hub. So they're all returning home, and if I look at their cargo bays, they're all full of crystals. And if I go back here to my station list, the crystals have gone down from 99% to 34. And remember, we set the threshold to 25%. So if this gets over 25%, the ships will bring crystals back to their home base, which in this case is the HQ. And if we go to our Dockware manager, we can see the amount here is already going up. And it's very fast because they're quantum jump gating directly to the station because it's at the center of the sector. We're not present in the sector, and the Saturn complex hubs are all clustered around the center of their sector and a jump beacon in another sector I have. So you can see they're freighting the Durasteel, and they're pretty much going to start filling out all of these because we have Saturn complex hubs for this. I've actually set this one incorrectly. I told it to get ore from the mobile binding base instead of the ore Saturn complex hub. And that actually brings me to my next point, which is you can only have one source per Dockware manager. So for the headquarters, you can only register one source at a time, which I find quite annoying because what if I have 2 Saturn complex hubs producing the same thing? That's where you have to set up a courier manually to do it. So if we look at a mobile mining base, we can actually use these to do quite a bit. So I've already briefly covered in a previous tutorial how to set up basic dock agents for mobile mining. But this is a mobile mining base. It's got mining ships running for it, and you can see this is all the mobile mining stuff it's producing. But let's say we wanted to hold on to the ore, silicon, and amdium, because you need that to build prototype ships for our headquarters instead of selling it, because ore and silicon aren't really worth a lot, but we can use them for our own purposes for shipbuilding. So if we look at our mobile mining base and go to Dockware Manager, we're just going to assign amdium, ore, and silicon. Where is silicon? And we're going to set the capacity to max by clicking End. So this is the max that the station can hold. And the reason I'm doing max is because we don't plan to sell this. And basically, now that we set up dock agents for the mining base, the dock agents are going to sell all the valuable crystals and all that. And we should probably assign energy cells too so they have fuel. And we will set that to buy. You know what? I'm just quickly going to go up and set up this mining base. So we'll set the energy cells to buy. We're not setting these as source because the mining ships all these mining, T-wing miners or whatever, they are bringing this cargo, all of this ore and minerals, they're bringing it to the station. We're not freighting it over with freighters. We're not buying it. It's just, as far as the Dockware manager is concerned, they're just magically appearing in the station's inventory. So we're only setting a source on energy cells, and we can set it to buy, but another thing we can do is, now that we have energy cells at our headquarters, we can set the source to our headquarters. And if you've been paying attention, now you'll know that the only thing we need to keep our mining base stocked with energy cells that the dock agents need to transport around the galaxy to sell these things is a freighter, not a dock agent. So I'm going to assign one of these ships. So this one will be home based at the mobile mining base, this one, Epsilon, and we will hit trade freighter. So this one, I'm going to go ahead and hide all these other ones from the property menu because we know they're working for the HQ and they're bringing in the shipbuilding materials. This one belongs to the mobile mining base. Sorry this is all unscripted and ranting, but I'm going to do a full setup of the mobile mining base, HQ, and equipment dock in this. And I don't really have it planned out beforehand. So this freighter is going to bring the energy cells from one of our stations. A good thing to note is that dock agents interact between your stations and the galactic economy, while freighters only work between your stations. So it's returning to the mobile mining base, and it is going to just bring energy cells from the HQ until we are at 10,000. We're going to set overstock to no, and source export threshold. If you remember, we set our stock at the HQ to 3 million. So we're not going to want to wait till we're 50% of 3 million at the HQ. The HQ is always going to have energy cells, and this station is frankly not going to consume a lot because it's only fuel. We're going to set the threshold to 0 and overstock to no. This is the mobile mining base getting the energy cells from the headquarters. And all we have working for that base is one freighter. We also need dock agents to sell the valuable goods, so I'm going to go ahead and do that with these two ships. Let's see. This one doesn't appear to have the software. But pretend for a real mobile mining base, you'll have dock agents set to sell, and they will sell everything in the Dockware Manager menu on unassigned, or anything that's over capacity. And by design, they won't be selling any of these things, and they will be selling all of these things. Now, to get the ore and silicon to our headquarters, we're going to need to set up a courier real quick. And I hate doing couriers, but sometimes it has to be done because you just simply can't set enough sources in the Dockware Manager menu. So we're going to set up this Byzanti we have here as a courier. So real quick tutorial on the courier. The courier basically lets you manually set a freight route for a ship. In this case, we're taking the ore and silicon from the mobile mining base, and we're taking it to our headquarters in Unseen Domain, which is actually crawling with Xenon. So, Byzanti Super Freighter. We are going to clear its home base. It doesn't need a home base. You can set one, it doesn't matter for a courier though. Trade courier. So this is where we need to add our task. We need to tell it to load at a station. Where is our mobile mining base? Upon this, you can't actually recolor the station names in Light Cube's universe, which is quite annoying. The category we are looking for is minerals. We're going to do Amdium, max cargo bay. Enter to confirm. Add task. I'll explain this as I finish setting it up. So max amount of ore at the mobile mining base, add task. We are going to do silicon, the max amount, and mobile mining base, add task. And then we are going to unload all of these at the headquarters. So we're going to unload the Amdium at the headquarters. The maximum amount. Unload ore at the headquarters, maximum amount. Gotta gotta set the headquarters, I guess. And unload the silicon maximum amount. And then at the very end, we are going to loop so that it goes forever. So what this ship is going to do is it's just going to execute these commands in order. At the mining base, it's going to load these 3 things, and then it's going to go to the headquarters, unload these things, and loop forever. And we don't have to worry about fuel because its auto jump settings will automatically take care of that. And both the mining base and the headquarters have energy cells set up with freighters to be stocked. So we're going to hit initiate Courier. And as we can see here, Courier Byzanti Super Freighter. Let's see, awaiting task, moving to load. So if we check its freight, it's already filled up with all the silicon it can carry. It just unloaded them at the headquarters. There it is, an unseen domain. And then it should be jumping back. It's back in unknown sector Epsilon. It's going to go pick up the ore and the ambium. And it's just going to keep doing that forever. And it's never going to run out of fuel. So this is a substitute for the Dockware Manager menu because it can't handle multiple sources. So now we're putting our valuable minerals, well, not valuable minerals from the mining base to good use for shipbuilding in addition to our proper Saturn complex hubs. And you can do this. You can set up a courier to hit multiple mobile mining bases and bring them all to the same station. You can basically use couriers to do all kinds of things that are, it's basically hard code for the Dockware Manager. And if your courier has a transporter device, you can even tell him to unload and load at ships. So if you have a mining ship, like a mining freighter, you can have him go up to the freighter, load with the transporter device, and bring it back to the station without having the mining ship ever needing to dock. Some people like doing this, but it's a lot more tedious to set up. So anyway, back to our headquarters. So if we look at our headquarters, it is now filling up. It is now definitely filling up with all the things we need to build the ships. And the only thing we're missing is the credits. So we could give the station our own credits, our own money. As you can see here for the V19 Torrent, here's everything we need. We're so close, we just don't have the credits. We need, let's see, 120,000 credits. That's about the price of a jump drive, not that bad. To do that, we're going to sell the excess. So we don't need this much plasteel. We're going to sell the excess. So all we need to do now is set dock agents. So we have CR25s already home based at the headquarters. We're going to trade dock agent sell. We're going to set up another one, trade dock agent sell. Something with setting dock agents is once you set them, look at the name up here. If you see the word null in the name, that means the command didn't work. I don't know why this happens. Sometimes it happens when you use the keyboard to try and set the command. If that does happen, just use the mouse for the whole thing. But if it says 003 or if it gives it a number, then you're just fine. So dock agent sell. For a mobile mining base, you probably only need 3 or 4 dock agents selling everything. But for the headquarters, these are all very high volume goods, unlike those crystals. So I'm going to go for like, how much do I have here? About 8 or 9 of them. So as you can see, they're all sorting wares. That just means they're on standby. This may take a while, but you're not supposed to watch these things. They're just supposed to work in the background. If the scripts did update really fast, then it would cause a massive performance hit on the game. So they might be on standby for a minute or two, but they should be selling all the overstock and unassigned wares. So going back to that, all this overstock, we're going to assign ambium here because we need that for prototype ships, and it's only acquired through mobile mining. And I'm going to set that capacity to, I guess, 199 million, the max capacity, because we never want it to be sold. We only want to use it for building prototype ships because eventually we want to build a whole fleet of prototype ships, and this is a rare resource. So if we look at our dock agents now, their locations are all over the map. They're selling plasteel, power converters, all the excess. And if we look here, back at our headquarters, the plasteel, we only have 10,000 of it, which is exactly the cap. So they sold exactly the amount of excess. And as they finish selling the goods, as soon as one of these reaches their destination. And I should also point out, they're going to find the best prices. So look at this station here. It's buying plasteel for a pretty decent price. Let's see. Where's this one going? It's going here. So buying plasteel. This one's buying plasteel for the absolute maximum price. So you don't need a best buy or best sell locator. You don't need any of that nonsense. Just dock agent. They'll automatically find the best price. So as they're starting to return home, you can see at the headquarters, we have credits. I guess it's easier to check in the property menu. Available credits, 171,000. And you'll see it going down as the ships start to be produced. Remember, it costs like 120,000 for a ship. If we go to our ships, look at all these V19 Torrents that have just been produced. So we're producing ships. We have all the resources we need. We go to info. We see we have way more resources than we possibly need here. And that's fine. Fighters are very easy to produce in mass quantities. The next step is template outfitting them. Now, you could do template outfitting at your headquarters, but I personally like to have a separate equipment dock for that. It doesn't really make any logical sense, but I like having a separate equipment dock. That way I don't have all the wares, all the lasers, missiles, and shields mixed up with all the shipbuilding materials in one mega station. It's just neat in my opinion, but you certainly can do everything at your headquarters. So at this equipment dock, we are going to have all our lasers, shields, and whatever that ships need to produce, to template outfit. So these fighters are going to need 25 megajoule shields. They're also going to need ion disruptors or energy bolt chain guns. And I so happen to already be producing those at this other Saturn Complex Hub cluster in this Xenon sector way out in the corner. And I've deployed a jump beacon, which is something you can buy at a military base, and you can eject it just like an advanced satellite, and it lets you jump there. So you know how you can jump to the center of a sector with a quantum jump gate extension. If you have the quantum jump gate extension, you can also jump to a jump beacon. So this is a jump point. So yes, we're in the Xenon sector, but we can use all these asteroids and all these Saturn complex hubs because we're so way off the map that the Xenon aren't really going to care. So this is just another thing you can do. You don't have to go in a Xenon sector, obviously. You can use the Plutarch tractor system to put asteroids all over the place. Now this is interesting. Our stations have money. That shouldn't be possible because that means I forgot to set it so NPCs can't dock at these stations. We have a rebel weapons dealer here, which is quite bizarre because they have to fly through 4 Xenon sectors to get here and go all the way up here to buy our wares. But something I forgot to do, for all Saturn complex hubs, you want to set no to race traders. So NPCs can't dock at our stations and come buy things. And unfortunately, in LeCube's universe, it defaults to yes, but we want to set it to no. So what was happening there is NPCs were making the trek through 4 Xenon sectors, I might add. I guess nowhere is safe from them. And they were coming to our Saturn complex hubs and buying them for the default price. Now, this may seem like a good idea, but as I've said in the past, they're buying them for the default price. Dock agents will sell them for the best price. So you want to have your dock agents selling everything. So anyway, these stations right here is the wares we are going to have in our equipment dock. And to get them in the Dockware Manager, remember your equipment dock needs to at least have one of them. But I like to have my main equipment dock also be the Tug and Reaper Shuttle home base. So here's a bunch of junk in the equipment dock that the Reaper Shuttle has picked up over the minutes of playing I've done. We'll keep Ion Disruptor. We will keep, I guess I don't have any other good ones that I need. I need the Concussion Impulse Generator and High Energy Plasma Thrower. But we'll do Ion Disruptor and Energy Cells for now. For lasers, you really only need like, let's see, 200 as your max capacity. If you're doing a massive fighter wing, maybe 600 or 400. Energy cells, because some templates you might forget to take the energy cells out, I say go ahead and leave this at 1 billion. And our sources, we are going to get them from the headquarters, and we're going to get these from our Ion Disruptor Saturn Complex Hub. And our thresholds, remember, for the energy cells, because they're coming from the headquarters and not a Saturn complex hub, overstock no, threshold 0. Ion destructor, because they're lasers and they produce slowly, threshold 0, and we'll always have overstock yes if they're coming from a Saturn complex hub. Always leave that at yes. You don't want to have very valuable, lasers are extremely valuable. You can be selling the excess and getting a lot of money rather than letting your freight backlog. So now we need to send a bunch of ships over to the outfitting dock. I'm sending them to the wrong one. So we have 4 ships en route to the equipment dock. I'm also going to have our TS go and fetch the rest of the wares because I need to set those in the Dockware Manager. You know what? There's actually a way you can do that. If you go to Dockware Manager, there's a set group capacity button here. So if we go to Shields, set group capacity, and go to 1, it just does the entire shield group. But because we're only producing these 2, I'm going to unassign these by hitting enter on them. Going to capacity, let's see, 200 is a good amount for 200 megajoules. For 25, I'd say about 500 is a good amount. And we can set the sources. We have Saturn complex hubs for those. And the thresholds, because shields also produce slowly, we will set that to 0. And let's see, lasers is another one. I don't like doing this method because this is a mess, but the ones we're looking for are, that I'm producing, are particle accelerator cannon, concussion impulse generator, and I think high energy plasma thrower. Okay, I think those are the 4 lasers that I'm currently producing. I've also got some missiles going on. Let's see. Sources. Yeah, we have Saturn complex hubs for all of those. Sorry if this is hard to follow. I did not plan this out in any way, and this is a lot more complicated than other tutorials need to be. But because these are all lasers, 0 and overstock yes. So now, if we go to our equipment dock, all of these have a freight source, and they all need freighters now. So we have those 2 ships en route. We can hide all these dock agents from the menu, by the way. You can do this by going to the station's own ships list and doing it all at once, but we've also got some home-based ships that don't have dock agent assignments yet, so I don't want to hide those just yet. So we've got, now they're still traveling. We'll have 2 freighters and 2 dock agents. So we have 4 of them at the equipment dock. Let's see what's landed there. We have our Reap shuttle. We have 4 of these ships, command console landed ships, home base to the equipment dock. And we have a CIS weapon transporter. I guess I forgot to set them open to race traders. No, we don't want anyone but our own ships docking here. And we will go set 2 of these ships to be trade freighter. They're going to go to those Saturn complex hubs and bring in all the lasers as soon as they're built because we set the export threshold to 0. And these other ones are going to be dock agents that sell. So these dock agents are going to sell. And another thing for these stations is advanced command console. You want to do direct deposit. For the equipment dock, I usually do 100 million credits, and for the headquarters, I'd say, see if I can find it, I'd say 100 million is another. For absolute end game, direct deposit of 100 million is decent. Because when you template outfit like 500 fighters at once, and your templates aren't smartly designed, and you are putting like jump drives on all your fighters, that is going to add up, and it uses station money to do that. And remember, if you go to order licensing, you unlock all these abilities that you can put on the equipment dock, or if you're using your headquarters again. So you can put the software upgrades on templates, or you can upgrade your ships at your own docks. I'm not going to be doing this here because I don't have templates set up for this example, but you would need to do that, and it does use credit. So by selling the excess, let's go back to the Dockware manager. Our freighter should be bringing these in. So by sitting in CETA, I guess we need to set these capacities, don't we? Concussion impulse, let's say 150 is a decent amount for a corvette weapon. High energy plasma thrower, 200 for a fighter weapon. Ion disruptor, that's going to be our main laser. And particle accelerator, that one's a very light laser, you produce a lot of, so 500 is a good amount. And as we get excess, it will be sold off, and this station will be accumulating money. And that's pretty much all there is to it. The dock agents are also going around selling all of this other junk that the tug ships and the Reaper shuttle drag in. So it's a pretty decent setup, I'd say, for template outfitting and shipbuilding. So if we go back to our headquarters, go back to the D menu, let's add more torrents to the production menu. Let's make 100, and let's just see them roll off the production line. And they are using, here's our property menu. You can see the torrents just rolling off the line. At this point, so it's stopped. So the headquarters has stopped producing them. So let's see why that is. If we go to info on the headquarters, so headquarters info, we can diagnose it. So credits, it's credits. The headquarters is out of credits. Let's see, how much does it have? It has 43,000. And if we go to our advanced trade report on the headquarters, this is the money it's made by selling off excess shipbuilding materials from those dock agents. It's not really making enough. So something you can do is you can home base a bunch of universe traders at the headquarters to generate more cash. Just know that if it ever dips that low as 43,000, the universe traders are going to break because they're not going to have enough money, and that's going to cause issues. But if you have enough of them and you don't dry out the credit reserve on the station, that should be fine. You can always manually throw credits in the headquarters, but I'm not going to do that because that's only a temporary solution. You want everything to be automated. So something else you could do is you could start producing high value goods. So advanced satellites, medical equipment, engine components, what's another one? Microchips, those sell for a lot. So if you just have a Saturn complex hub producing those only for profit, not to use, and you have a freighter bringing those to the headquarters, and you have dock agents selling them. So say you have, let's go to the headquarters. Let's pretend this 1 megajoule shield is engine components. That's something you should set up a Saturn complex hub for because those sell for a lot. We would set the capacity to 0. Therefore, any engine components that show up in this station will be sold. And we would set the source. We would set the source to our Saturn complex hub here that produces those engine components. Now, of course, I don't have one, and this is a 1 megajoule shield. But that way, the freighters that are already working for this station will automatically incorporate that into the network. The freighters work off of this menu. So you can add and remove from this menu, and the freighters will adjust themselves to obey the menu. So you can change this menu without having to worry about your ships. They'll handle everything behind the scenes. So that's just another way you could have money coming in for the HQ. And as that HQ, let's see, where's the owned ships? This is not a good setup. This is just something I threw together. Let's see. Selling plasteel, waiting for wares to sell. So it's just not producing enough. I have size 50 Saturn complex hubs for all the wares. That's actually not that much. Back in my legit playthroughs, I would have up to 200, 150, 100 at the bare minimum for energy cells and things like ore. But like size 200 and really big ones. That way, there's always excess to sell, and you can make just M2 destroyers, one after the other without worrying about downtime when you're waiting for materials. So that's basically it. I know this tutorial was extremely ranting and unstructured and probably redundant, but this menu can be used on any station that isn't a factory, so you can't use this menu on your Saturn complex hubs and your factories like a concussion impulse generator fab. But you can put it on docks, equipment docks, and your headquarters. And they're basically a centralized logistics system that branches out to all your producing stations, which are the Saturn complex hubs, or regular complex hubs if you're producing things there. And they're just freight hubs, and you can set this menu however you want. And these stations will be perfect, so we can build whatever we want at the headquarters, and we can send them to the equipment dock, which eventually, once we set up a lot more Saturn complex hubs and have the Reap shuttle bring in more stuff that we want to save, and we can do that by specifying in the menu, it will have all the wares in the game that we could ever want, and we can outfit the ships there, so we will break our dependence on the NPC economy completely and be just fine. And with mobile mining, right, you can set them up. You can set up Dockware managers here as well. When you first start out, you'll probably want to get your mobile mining base and set up the Dockware manager for the energy cells, so your dock agents can start using those. You'll want to put a jump beacon outside the station. And remember, you can use this to buy whatever wares you want at the lowest price without having to shop manually. And I think that's pretty much all there is to it. Remember, you can use a courier whenever you need to hard code a freight line. And it's like setting up a truck delivery route manually, rather than having a shipping manifest of everything you need and having freighters dynamically adjust to it. So couriers, freighters, shipbuilding, and Dockware managers. This is pretty much all there is to it. It's quite simple. And remember, this source is empty here because our courier is bringing the amnium to this station. And in a real game, you'll probably have multiple mobile mining bases, so therefore you shouldn't just set this to one of them. You should have a courier bring it. The last thing is the energy cells. I have them all coming from the HQ as a freight source rather than the Saturn complex hub that produces them. So the HQ gets its energy cells from the Saturn complex hub. All other docks, our equipment dock and the mobile mining base, and all other docks that would be in this playthrough are going to get them from the HQ. And the reason I do that is because, say, energy cells are deficient. The Saturn complex hub produces a batch. All the individual freighters from all those docks are going to see that and swoop in, and they're all going to cannibalize. Well, the first person to get there is going to get them, and then the others are going to go home empty, and it's just not going to work out. This way, they're all in one location, so all I have to do is monitor the energy cell level of my HQ, and that is the energy cell level of my entire empire. So as I can see that going up and down, I'll know if I need more production or not, because everything will be getting it. All production goes to the HQ, and all consumption comes out of the HQ. So therefore, I have one quantity I can monitor. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Note that you should never, ever put MLCC on a dock where you have a Dockware Manager menu configured, because it wrests control away from it. It basically automates this menu. MLCC will wipe this menu clean and automatically fill it out. So I'll have to explain that later when I'm less tired, so it doesn't end up ranting like this one. But just for now, know that you should never put MLCC on a dock that you have a menu set up, and never put it on the headquarters. That will have to come later though, because this tutorial has ranted on way too long.